It is absolutely the case that our life experiences mold and shape us across our lifespan, right? Think about your life experiences and how they brought you to where you are today. When I was a kid growing up in Oklahoma, the middle of Tornado Alley, okay, so every spring, every April and May, we Oklahomans know that it's time to prepare. Hopefully we've been prepared across the year. We're ready for those F5 tornadoes that are going to sweep through. And that shaped my early learning about crisis communication and then health communication. Fast forward to my early adulthood when I was in graduate school. Actually, I got all my degrees at University of Oklahoma, my bachelor's, my master's, and ultimately my Ph.D. at University of Oklahoma, where I was studying health communication and aging about 20 years ago. During my graduate program, my father was diagnosed with 4-stage lung cancer with 16 metastases to the brain. This was during my dissertation year, where I was already studying health communication and aging. Particularly, my dissertation was on caregiving, which is much of what I'm going to be talking about today. So I was thrown into translating research into application in my early adulthood. Wow. It was quite a year, I can tell you that. So I, like many of you, was navigating the health system. I was equipped with some information, right, about the healthcare system. But like many of you have experienced, I was becoming frustrated with the miscommunication that was going on, the health information that was often, not helping us. I felt very confused and frustrated sometimes. And how many of you have felt that way when you're navigating the healthcare system? At least more than half of you, right? And I would argue that most of us are caregivers in one way or another. Most of us are providers in one way or another, whether we're caring for an aging parent or whether we're a parent caring for little children, right? So we all play that role in some way. So today what I'm going to talk about is how health communication can not only change your life, but it can enhance your life, extend your life, and even save your life. I've seen it happen, particularly in the cancer context, and I'm going to provide a theoretical model, but I'm going to provide it in a way that you can really just take it to the streets and take it to your healthcare encounters so that you can hopefully have a little bit of a better experience than you otherwise would have. 80% of medical errors are due to communication problems, communication breakdown. 80%. Wow. Just medical errors alone are a health concern, right? So we need to be more savvy in what we bring to the table in terms of our healthcare interactions. This finding was by the JCAHO, which is the accrediting body for the American Medical Association, in 2002. It's one of those startling statistics that I like to throw out to people when I'm trying to explain what is this health communication? What do you mean by health messaging? Which I find a lot. And in fact, I'm going to give you my definition of health communication. It's rather simple, but powerful. And I've developed it over the years. It's been influenced by others in the field. And that is the following. Health communication is about creating shared meaning about healthcare and conditions. Creating shared meaning is not easy to achieve, but it's something that we should constantly be striving for, right, in our healthcare interactions and in our lives, for that matter. Okay, so this is my definition. I want you to think about my definition as I go through this theoretical model that is a interpersonal-based theoretical model, but very easy to absorb, and has a really easy acronym that you can all remember, okay? So all you need to remember is to smile at each healthcare encounter from here on out. Not an easy thing to do, because usually when we go to our health providers, we're sort of feeling nervous, right? But I'm hoping that you can just remember a smiley face and remember this acronym of SMILE with each healthcare encounter from here on out. Now let me take you through the model. It deals with, the S is satisfaction, the M is modification and mirroring, the I is identity or identification, the L is listening, and the E, enactment and evaluation. Now what I want to do is take you through each of these and sort of explain what each of them mean. And as I do that, I want you to remember this is basically a decision aid that can help you. And an underlying sort of tenet of the model is that it's all about the relationship that we're creating. We have a role to play as caregivers. We have a role to play as caregivers for our family members. We have a role to play as patients in the healthcare relationship, right? So we can't just sort of lay the blame on how medical schools are training physicians, right? Maybe doing a great job on the biological, a great job on the molecular, a great job on basically everything but the behavioral, which could use a little bit of improvement. It is changing, though, I will say. More and more health communication courses are being offered in medical schools, and I'm trying to help in any way I can to make that happen even more than I think it already is. So I want you to remember that it's all about the relationship. That relationship between what we call the communicative source and the receiver is key. What do I mean by communicative source? Well, as a caregiver, you're the source. Okay? If I'm the caregiver, caring for my aging mom, which I am, and caring for my little kids, which I do, I'm constantly the communicative source, the sort of interpreter between the healthcare providers and what my mom might need, and the healthcare providers and what my kids might need, right? So I'm the intermediary in a lot of ways, as the role that many of you play. And all of us are providers in some way. Even within your organization, many of you are in leadership positions, and you're providing care for your employees, right? So this model can apply to a lot of different contexts, but it's particularly important in the healthcare relationship because I've seen it play out in enhancing people's lives, extending their lives, and in some cases even saving their lives based on the healthcare decision-making that one does that can increase and bring about better health outcomes. It's huge. It's very exciting, and I'm excited I get to talk about it today. So let's go into the model. The S is for satisfaction. Satisfaction matters very much for medical decision-making and what we call medical adherence, or carrying out the recommended treatment. So you want to ask yourself, in a caregiving situation, am I satisfied with the health information that I'm receiving from this provider or set of providers? And how do I feel about that health information? How do I feel about the interaction and the relationship that's sort of emerging here? And you want to ask yourself these kind of questions, because if your answer is no, maybe it's time to get a second opinion. Maybe this provider or team of provider, maybe it's not the right fit for you. And we have choices. So we want to kind of think about that so we can always be providing the best care for our family. Now let's move to the M, modification and mirroring. So modification suggests that healthcare communicators, which in this case would be the caregiver, right, which this article is sort of based on, caregiving policy, research, and practice. So modification, you want to stay on message while modifying and adapting to the way those messages are delivered. What do I mean by that? Well, again, as a caregiver, I'm going to talk very differently to my children of different ages across the lifespan as I am to my aging mom, okay, when I'm dealing with technical health information. I'm going to talk also very differently with the team of providers, and different providers have different expertise and so forth. Now, hopefully, the team of providers are talking also with myself and with my, let's just say, aging mom in different ways as well, because we might have different technical skills and knowledge that we're also bringing to that interaction. So you're looking for that adaptability and ability to modify the way messages are delivered. Well, at the same time, mirroring the communicative style, as we call it, that emerges during that healthcare interaction. If you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis, it's not a light kind of conversation. It's obviously, the Breaking Bad news situation can be a very heavy situation, and the tone needs to sort of match that, right? And you need to be feeling like you're on the same page with that in terms of mirroring that communicative style. So you want to look for that. Is that mirroring going on, okay? And same with in the family caregiving relationship. Are you mirroring? If I sense that my mom is having kind of, I wouldn't say a bad day, but a day that's not as good as another day, or I'm sensing a good day, I try to mirror those kind of feelings and the information exchange. She may not feel like hearing about how she needs to take this round of medicine on a certain day. Or maybe I need to pull back a little bit to get the result that I know we need to get as a family, right? And of course, I had many conversations with her over the years, over the last 8 to 10 years, about at some point we would need to move my mom, or we would need to move closer to her so that I could take better care of her. In fact, she was living in Oklahoma City, and a year and a half ago we moved her here to Southern California, and she's very happy. She's missed all those recent tornadoes. Yay! So she's very happy, and we still have a lot of friends who are working very hard with the American Red Cross and really helping a lot of people. So we're in touch with those folks and sending our best wishes for recovery. So moving to the I, identity. Identity is one of my favorite in the SMILE model. A line of my research stems from the I, the identity. And basically that's paying attention and understanding one's social identity that can relate to our cultural and health beliefs that we bring to that interaction, our life experiences that we bring to that interaction. Identity deals with who we are, what makes us tick, right? So we need to know that about ourselves, right? I have an identity as a mom, as a runner, as I consider myself a bit of an athlete, as a scholar, all the different hats that I wear, right? But how strongly do I hold on to different aspects of my identity? If I don't get that workout in, as some of my workout buddies are here in the audience, if I don't get that workout in, then I feel that. That's a strong part of my identity. If the healthcare provider knows that about me, he or she can provide a better care and tailor more to a patient like me. If I know the identity of my mom and what she's comfortable with or not comfortable with as a caregiver, I can help communicate some strategies with the provider team. And same for children. So think about your own relationships and the caregiver role that you play in your life, and how, do you know what makes each of these people tick? And can you then tailor your messages to aspects of their identity? Okay, so now let's move to the listening. Listening seems very obvious, right? Oh yeah, we always hear about listening. But I want to get you to think about listening a little bit differently. I want you to start to be an active listener and listen for what I call communicative cues. It's another line of my research that I think is incredibly important. There are nonverbal cues and there are linguistic verbal cues that we can pick up on if we're paying attention. But we have to really listen in order to pick up on those cues. As a caregiver, very important, because a lot of times there's very sensitive health information that maybe our mom doesn't really want to reveal all the details. It can get a little tricky within families, right? And even with our providers, our more formal providers, maybe there's some topics that are uncomfortable to talk about. I mean, health is a very sort of raw area. And so the savvy communicator, the savvy healthcare communicator and caregiver can listen for those communicative cues. Let me give you some examples. Listen for some stories, a story that might emerge during the interaction. And what are aspects of that story that might tell you more about what's going on or indicate something more is going on? Listen for little bits of language that are kind of what I would call a red flag, a communicative cue. Listen for humor. A lot of times people will use humor, especially in the caregiving and health context, as a coping strategy. And humor, when people are sort of joking around, a lot of times there's an undercurrent of something more that's going on. So those are some examples. Metaphor, change in vocalics or tone of voice, nonverbal cues, and so forth. So we want to really listen for those communicative cues. The E stands for enactment and evaluation. Okay, so we want to question and think, how can I enact patient action for, as I'm a primary or secondary caregiver? How can I get my mom to take the medication regimen that's been prescribed? How does a physician get a family to engage in the recommended response for care? Okay, do I feel like I have the cognitive tools, the affective or emotional tools, or the behavioral tools to enact what's being recommended? If I don't, maybe I'm not with the right provider. Maybe I am, but maybe I need to get a second opinion. If I don't feel comfortable enacting that patient action, that I don't have the tools because maybe I'm not being given the tools, I don't feel comfortable carrying out the recommended response, maybe that's the time to question something that's going on. We need to take our health into our own hands a bit, and that's what the SMILE model helps us to do. And the evaluating health messages is sort of just continually evaluating the various health messages that we're getting, and think about that, the health information and the credibility of that health information. Think about the feelings and how you're feeling about the information you're getting and that interaction, the relationship that's emerging or not emerging with that set of relationships. So I hope today I've given you a reason to smile. That was sort of my purpose for coming here today. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive, but if you can just remember one thing and remember to smile with each and every future healthcare interaction, even some of those difficult ones, many of them will be difficult. Just remember to smile, because smiling can change your life, smiling can possibly extend your life, and even save your life. Thank you.